Hi, I'm Joe of Family Handyman. If you happen to live in an older home with radiant heat, most likely you have baseboard heat or the old accordion style radiator. You love the way it heats the room, but you might not like the way it looks. Today I'm going to show you how to build a cover for your radiator. An easy way to measure height is set a straight edge on top of the radiator. Stretch the tape from the floor to the bottom of the straight edge. Same goes for measuring the depth. Only hold the straight edge against the front of the radiator. Measure from the wall to the inside of the straight edge. Measuring the width of the radiator, be sure to include all the plumbing valves and fittings. Another thing you want to measure is the baseboard, the height and the depth. Now I have all the measurements. I'm going to head back to the shop and start building. Now let's talk about the design. The ultimate goal is what's the finished product? What do you want it to look like? Maybe you want it to match your wood trim or your wood floors. Maybe you want to build it out of oak. You could build it out of cherry, Baltic birch plywood. I'm building this out of MDF because I'm going to paint it. The design of this box is basically 3 frames, a front frame, 2 side frames, and a top. I designed this around this pressed sheet metal. You can find this at your local home store. This is a 1x2 sheet. There's going to be 3 of them in the front and then 1 on each side, attached from the back side. Let's head over to the table saw and start cutting. There are a few options for constructing this frame. You could use dowels, pocket screws, or biscuits. I'm going to use dowels. Start by laying out all your pieces for the frames on a flat surface to see how they all fit together. Make pencil marks at each point. A spacer comes in handy to make it more accurate. Set your adjustable square at 1 inch and mark where you want your dowels to be. Now that I have all my marks made, time to start drilling. A dowel jig comes in handy. There are several different styles of this. This is the dowlet jig, been around for many years. You want to put a piece of tape on your drill bit as a stop so you don't drill too deep. Now that I have all the holes drilled, I'm going to dry fit the whole piece together before I glue it. Looks like it all fits together. Now it's time to glue it up. Now I have the front all glued and clamped. I'm going to repeat the same process on the sides. Now that the glue's all dry, at this point in the project you could add a decorative edge to the top or even to the inside of the frame. You'd need a router with a bearing bit. So if you happen to have baseboard trim that runs behind your radiator and you don't want to cut into it, you can always cut the profile of the trim out of the back of both sides. This will allow it to fit tight against the wall. You can cut that out with a jigsaw. Just remember to make a left and a right. Time to assemble the frame. I'm going to construct this in the same manner I made the frames, using dowels and glue, and then I'm going to screw it from the front. I've already dry fitted this so I know they fit well. Lay the top upside down on a flat surface and set the assembled frames on the top. Center it left and right and flush with the back edge of the top. Draw lines on the top around the inside and outside perimeter of the frames. Now, transfer the lines from the frame to the top where you need dowel holes. Remove the frame assembly and continue the lines to the center of the two perimeter lines for your dowel holes. Drill 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch dowel holes on the top at each mark. Insert dowels at each hole and proceed gluing the top to the frame together. Secure the pieces together using 1¼ inch finish screws. After patching the holes and sanding, at this point in the project, it's time to prime and paint or stain and finish the entire piece. Allow the paint or finish to dry completely before moving on. Now that the paint's all dry, time to install the decorative sheet metal. Flip the cabinet over on its face. Make sure you have some cardboard underneath it so you don't mar the paint job. Like I mentioned before, I designed this cabinet around these pieces of sheet metal, 2 foot by 1 foot. I'm going to staple this right in. This stuff is very lightweight. You can cut it with a tin snips. For the side piece, all we need to do is cut around the baseboard trim. In order for this pattern to be even all the way around, I cut a spacer block for the piece of metal to butt up against. All right, that's the finished product. Now it's time to go install it. This radiator cover is held in place with gravity. However, you can add a friction cleat between the wall and the radiator. Attach it to the underside of the top. That'll keep it from falling forward. Here's the cleat I'm using. Measure from the wall to the radiator on both sides. That's it, finished product, turned out nice. For more projects like this, visit us at familyhandyman.com.